Here's Tanya, and I'm here with the October Hip Kit Club kits and the weekly sketch challenge, and I'm continuing to chronicle our adventures on our safari in the Kalahari in my traveler's notebook. And as I hinted in my previous video, this is the spread where I document when it all went wrong. Alright, picture the scene. We are in, and the Kalahari is primarily a desert, so it's very flat and brown, and anyway, so we're in this game reserve, and we're driving around in our red Kombi, which is old, and the air conditioning packed up halfway up to our destination, so it has been pretty hot going, and it had to be fixed before we left, so my husband had done a lot of work on it, and we're driving around and it's getting hotter and hotter, and I'm watching the temperature gauge rise, and I am getting hotter and hotter. And we had seen a lion. We did see a lion, which was wonderful. And then we had seen a lot of the more not mundane, I don't want to say mundane, but the more ordinary, it's just a different word for mundane, a lot of the other animals like gemsbok and springbok and ostriches. There are loads of those. You see those around every second corner, and it's large. It's very, very large, so you drive for hours and hours and you don't see a lot as you're driving. And again, watching the temperature gauge, and it's now getting to 47 degrees Celsius, which I don't know what that's in Fahrenheit, but it is frick hot. And all of a sudden there is this almighty bang, and I say to Abby, what was that? And he goes, I don't know. And I'm thinking, what the frick happened? And he's now trying to search for a tree that we can park under because it's hot, and then he wants to investigate, but there are no trees because it's a desert. So eventually we decide we definitely need to stop. And yeah, I'm sorry, I could tell you what I'm doing here, but you can see what I'm doing, so if you have any questions, just pop a comment below. But I'd rather tell you the story actually, because it's, it's chronicling the story, and I don't like this washi because it doesn't come off nicely. Anyway, so we eventually stop because the car will not go anymore. And yes, you're not supposed to get out in these game parks, but there was nothing around, so hubby got out and had a look, and our water tank had exploded. The water pump, sorry, not water tank, water pump had literally exploded. The car was going nowhere. Here we are, 47 degrees. It's like midday. We're in this park. There's hardly anybody else around. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And I have to say, I did not have very pleasant thoughts about my husband, because my husband, as I mentioned previously, is a geek and he likes old things, and he insisted, well, he didn't insist, but we figured we would take the Kombi because it's higher up and we'd be able to see more animals that way, instead of taking our normal sedan car. So very, very unpleasant thoughts are crossing my mind. I'm not saying them. I'm sitting there sweating profusely and thinking, what are we going to do? And then this car drove past, and they stopped because people are nice, and they said, hey, what's the problem? And we explained the situation, and hubby said, won't you please just tell them, because when you leave to go around to look for game, you leave your card at the desk, because obviously they need to know if you don't come back and collect your card, then they need to come and look for you. So anyway, we tell the people, please just explain to them. And they duly go off, but then they very sweetly turned around and came back and said, no, they couldn't possibly leave us in the heat. They're going to tow us back in. So yes, there we are. Our first day in the park. And we get towed in. It's so embarrassing. Everybody's like, because we were camping, everybody in the campsite is like looking at us going, oh boy. What happened to them? So we got towed in, and yeah, that car was going nowhere. And now we are 300 kilometers away from the nearest town. And I mean, what are we supposed to do? It's our very first day of the holiday. We've paid a lot of money to be there. We've driven a long way to be there. So hubby came up with a plan that what he was going to do is he would catch a lift into town, because obviously people are leaving all the time. So he'll catch a lift back into town, hire a car, come back, we'll go around the park, and then he will then go back the next day to try and find a replacement part for our car, because obviously we needed to get back home as well. And I have to say that in a tiny little way, I was kind of pleased that we broke down, because we got a car with aircon. Yeah, the hire car had aircon, and I was so much happier. I mean, you do not want to be driving around in 47-degree heat without an aircon. I mean, it's just not on. But and that evening, now of course we're morbidly depressed because our car is broken, and there were flies, and then suddenly there was this grasshopper infestation. I was not a happy girl. I was very good about it. I didn't, moan too much. But oh my gosh, I was not happy. Fortunately, the next day it was a lot cooler. And the next day I got to sit in the combi while hubby went off for the whole day to find a hire car, and I got to play with my watercolors and things. So I was, and it was cooler. I think I said that. So I was a lot happier. But yeah, that was the start of our holiday, and yeah, to say it was dramatic is is an understatement. But I'm coming to the end of this, so I do hope you enjoyed my chronicling of it and enjoyed the process, and I'll chat again soon. Bye bye.